Really quick, everybody, this entire video will be timestamped, so if you don't want to watch a link and jump straight into a different topic, please check the pinned comment or check the red bar right down below you. Again, this entire video will be timestamped, and I appreciate you guys watching whatever part that you liked, and if you're sticking around, guys, hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with too many YouTube channels, and welcome back to our weekly news recap of everything that you missed in UFC and MMA this week. As always, it's as the title suggests, I cover everything that you potentially missed, from news that is well known by everybody to the little things that you haven't heard about. With that being said, we're going to jump straight into it. And as usual with these videos, guys, we're going to start off with the Fight Night takeaways, and the Fight Night takeaway is, wow, Aaron Blanchfield is the real deal. There's not too much else that I really took away from that card. Regardless, I'm excited to see her if she wants to fight Valentina Shevchenko. Looks like she's going to get a title fight next, but still, regardless, I'm really excited to see what comes from her next. And also, the other takeaway is Jim Miller still has it, man. Jim Miller is still a dog. Speaking of Jim Miller, this brings us to our first piece of news today. Jim Miller, as you guys may know, he wants to fight up until UFC 300, and that's because he fought on UFC 100, 200, and he wants to finish the career at 300, which is still a little bit ways away. He wants to remain active until then. Now he's having some eye problems, but we can touch on that a little bit later. But right now, he says that he does want to fight Damien Maia because Damien Maia technically isn't retired, and Jim Miller always thought that would be a really fun matchup. I would love to see the jiu-jitsu matchup between those two really respected veterans going at it, but I can't see the UFC giving Damien Maia another fight. It really seemed like they were like, hey, Damien Maia, this is his last fight, and they kind of wanted him out of there. Plus, he could always have the potential of having him choke out somebody that you could promote later on down the line. So I understand from their perspective, but Jim Miller wants to fight Damien Maia. I would love to see that, but I don't think it would happen. Moving on, Wonderboy came out and he wants changes to the UFC ruling, and I actually really like it. So this isn't like brand new unique to Wonderboy. He's not the only one that has come up with this. He wants, if there is a fight that is close or if there's a draw, to just have one more round, kind of like they've done in the Ultimate Fighter before. I like this idea. I don't know why it's not a thing. I think there should be more 5-round fights in general, but still, if it's that close, why not have him step out for one more round, just decide the fight instead of having a draw? I like that idea. Let me know what you think down below. Moving on, I'm going to have to be a little bit careful with this one. So Nate Marquardt came out, and he was very upset about something, and he's upset. I have to think about my YouTube words here because I'm not allowed to say exactly what it is. So Nate Marquardt was upset that his child was watching something on TV that you see a lot on TV nowadays, something that, like, you could consider Disney, something that really likes to put stuff on TV right on display for you guys. And again, I apologize that I can't show the tweet or anything like that, but he was really upset about it. If you guys haven't caught in what I've been throwing out right now, and then people have just been coming down on Nate Marquardt. There's been a few people defending him, but still, the internet was really upset with him for a little while, but it seems like to already have blown over, but still, a lot of people don't like Nate Marquardt anymore. Moving on, Michael Chandler came out, and he has one big expectation for the Ultimate Fighter because, of course, they are filming right now, and he expects McGregor to start trash-talking him and getting into his head, and then he can see animosity being built between the two leading up for the fight. One, I can see Michael Chandler just saying that to get more clicks online, and two, I can also see Conor McGregor really doing that. So maybe both will happen. Maybe Chandler will be inviting for that to happen. McGregor will do it anyways. I don't know. Conor seems like he's in good spirits right now and just enjoying the whole process, but who knows how that's going to go. I'm excited to watch it, man. Speaking of the Ultimate Fighter, this is really quick. Ryan Bader joined Chandler on the Ultimate Fighter and is going to be coaching people. So Ryan Bader, he's a fantastic Bellator champion. He's a really good fighter. Really underrated. Still wants to fight Francis Ngannou. I don't think that's a really good deal because he's still talking about it, but still, it's really nice to see. It's nice to have Chandler and Ryan Bader coaching the fighters on the Ultimate Fighter. That's going to be really cool. I like Bader. It's going to be fun to see him. Now, here's a big piece of news, guys. Jones and Cormier kind of made up, if you believe it. John Jones tweeted, I'm paraphrasing, of course. He's like, Daisy, I really admire you. I respect you as a man. I like how you brought the best out of me. And he was being really nice guy, John Jones, and people are still buying it. I actually made a whole video talking about it. I was like, I don't understand how all these bots are just buying John Jones and his good guy act again. Daniel Cormier seeing right through it, and you can just tell Daniel Cormier doesn't buy it. He is not good at hiding it. He's like, I don't need permission to call your fight, John Jones, when John Jones was like, Daniel, I would actually have no problem with you calling my fight. I really respect you as a commentator. It's like, man, there's no way he would actually believe that, John. There is absolutely no way. So Daniel Cormier, believe it or not, is getting hated on a little bit again because people are actually writing stuff like, wow, Daniel, he really can't let it go, eh? It's like, come on, man. Haven't we not learned yet? Daniel Cormier was right this whole time, and he's still right and justified for being upset. He probably wants nothing to do with John Jones. You know what I mean? Jones is just putting on this complete fake act. People are buying it, man. I don't get it. If you're one of those people, man, you need to wake up. Got another interesting one. Islam Makhachev. His mom wants him to retire from the UFC, and it seems like Makhachev, I could be wrong here, but it seems like the idea is being entertained, at least like People are upset about this, okay? People are upset, especially since his last performance didn't look so good. They want to see the rematch of Volkanovski, but he's a champion of the world. He could probably live forever. I'm actually pro-retirement for Makhachev. You got to think of it from his perspective. Why take a bunch of unnecessary damage? You already hit the peak of the sport. You could go down as one of the greatest of all time, but he technically is the number one pound for pound fighter, and he is not the greatest of all time, don't get me wrong, but if I was in his spot, I would absolutely retire. Retire on top. People will remember you forever. Is Islam undefeated? No, he has one loss. You would remember, just imagine the way people remember Islam Makhachev if he retired. He could just retire, not have CTE, have a family, does what he wants, and that's what I was wishing for fighters like Henry Cejudo. I wish more fighters would do this once they get to the top. It's frustrating for the division and frustrating for the UFC, but you got to think about the people. And plus, his mom wanting him to retire, that makes so much sense. It's not like the mom's trying to rob everybody of the fan, like, of their pleasure watching the UFC. It's just a mom that cares about her child, you know what I mean? Moving on, though, Sean O'Malley came out and said that he does want to work on his mic skills for the press conferences, and I really like that because Sean O'Malley, he's a really, really good character for the sport. He's awesome, like, all around. But then when he shows up at a press conference, he kind of drops the ball on the mic, and it's really good that he's recognizing that, and it's going to be cool to see if he actually is able to improve it. I have a feeling he can. I don't know what it was a long time ago. He was just a little awkward on the mic, you know what I mean? He wasn't a good trash talker, but he's good, like, when he's not put on the spot, if that makes sense. Like, bringing him back to, like, oh, I'm going to show you how to beat Peter Yan with the heavy bag that he was working on. Like, that stuff's really funny. If he could channel that kind of energy and bring it into a press conference, that'd be really cool, and he'd be really good at it. Moving on, we already talked about this, and as you guys already know, Aljamain Sterling versus Henry Cejudo is official for UFC 288, and I gotta say, man, I think Aljamain's gonna steamroll him. I don't like how all this time the Cejudo is taken off. He's gone fat, he raised a family, who knows how much he's been training. We'll dive more deeply into that as the fight progresses, but that fight is announced, and it's really cool. I'm a huge, huge Henry Cejudo fan, so I'll be cheering for him. Now, you guys know that big Gamebred card, Masvidal's big event. He's actually having a really, really cool boxing event. Well, one more fight got added to that, and it's Paul Daley versus Markus Perez. That's really good, and the card was already worth watching. It's Jacare, Vitor, Showtime, a big Showtime fan, big Jacare fan. Gamebred, it's looked like it's making some moves. Hopefully, this isn't just a one-time event where the event's really good. I'm like legitimately excited for this and just have Paul Daley on there too. I like watching Paul Daley fight. It's going to be really fun to watch that card, the Gamebred card. Moving on down the list, Jairzinho Rozenstruik versus Jailton Almeida just got announced, and I'm really excited to see Almeida get tested, man. Seems like it could be potentially the future of the heavyweight division, and I have a feeling he's going to beat Rozenstruik, but of course, it's a big step in competition. Anything can happen. He's a really solid fighter, but I'm excited to see where Almeida goes because the dude is very exciting, very scary. It looks like an incredible prospect. Continuing with the fight announcements, we also have Tanner Boser versus Ion Cutelaba. I can't say I'm too excited for this one. It should be fun. Someone's going to get finished, right? If I had to guess, man, I would go with Boser, but Cutelaba is like super, super inconsistent. But that's a fight that got announced. I'm looking forward to it. More fights announced. Vanessa Demopoulos versus Karolina Kowalkiewicz, and I apologize, I always mispronounce her name. Karolina, I'm just going to call her Karolina. It's like, remember how funny the memes were back in the day with Karolina and Joanna Champion were fighting each other? Nobody were saying their last names. Regardless, Vanessa Demopoulos, a lot of people are high on her right now. She's probably going to win this fight. I think Karolina's like one step out of the door here. Regardless, people are excited for it. I'm like semi-excited for it. I'll watch it for sure, but I'm not too into it. Let's circle back to Michael Chandler because Michael Chandler, he was asked about his game plan for the fight against Conor McGregor, and he said not specifically what he's going to do, but he still wants to be aggressive with Conor McGregor. That's exactly the problem that Chandler might have in this fight. I imagine him being way too aggressive and then just getting clipped with Conor because Conor is too elusive, too precise. Man, I've been saying for a long time, if Conor is not restricted by his leg at all, assume his leg's perfectly fine, this is going to look like the Eddie Alvarez fight. Chandler's going to rush in and just get clipped and clipped and clipped and clipped. I can't even... Yeah, I see total domination from McGregor. Again, assuming his leg isn't compromised. You know what I mean? So it's not surprised he's going to be aggressive. He's probably going to fight with low fight IQ. He's probably not going to wrestle, and Conor's going to starch him. That's my belief. Moving on, Corey Sandhagen came out and said that he wants to rematch Aljamain Sterling. Of course he does, because Aljamain Sterling beat him and Aljamain Sterling's a champion. But here's the kicker. He wants to move up to 145 pounds because Sterling was open to that idea. He said that the division has nothing left for him, which is just absolutely crazy. But Corey Sandhagen would follow him up there to 145 pounds and fight him. That's a toughie, man, because I could see Sterling submitting him again. But like Sandhagen, I feel like he's just a better all-around fighter. He's getting better every time, too. I'd be really interested to see that fight. Let me know what you guys think about this one. Moving on, Wonderboy and Conor McGregor paired up. They've been doing a little bit of training together. So the reason that I wanted to talk about this is because maybe this could lead to Conor McGregor having more of a karate stance again, which would be really fun. He really needs to do that. He needs to get out of that boxing stance. And I understand I'm just a guy with a microphone behind a desk and I don't know anything and I'm not a UFC champion. But it's very, very easy to tell that Conor McGregor needs to go back to his old fighting style. So hopefully Wonderboy's helping him out with that. Hopefully he's getting a little bit of a refresher. This makes me very excited. Moving on, Khamzat Chimaev is not going to fight, and his next fight will be after April because he doesn't want to fight during Ramadan. A little bit disappointing. I understand, don't get me wrong, like I'm not hating on him for that or anything, but I'm a little bit disappointed in the whole Khamzat Chimaev thing because the whole point of his hype when he first joined the UFC was he's going to be the guy to take on short notice fights. He's going to be the guy to fight back to back. The UFC might be a little bit control of that, but Khamzat, man, like it's a little disappointing. I want to see the guy fight more often. I want to see him fight more than once a year. You know what I mean? Got some Bellator news. Ray Borg, remember Ray Borg? I kind of forgot about Ray Borg. Ray Borg's an underrated fighter. He signed with Bellator. I actually can't wait to see him fight. I love watching the Bellator cards, as much hate as they get. Ray Borg, I hope he does well. It's going to be fun to watch. Another fight announcement that everybody knows about, so we're not going to really talk about it. It's Charles Oliveira versus Beneil Dariush has been confirmed for UFC 288. Still upset that it's a co-main event. Still upset that it's not a 5-rounder, but still, that fight is going to tear at my heartstrings because I'm such big fans of both guys, but it's a good fight that makes total sense. Dariush already deserved a title shot. Oliveira, the same thing too, and these two are absolute animals just taking on each other, and one of them, it's so sad that one of them has to get knocked down, you know what I mean? But regardless, it is a very, very fun matchup. Moving on, 2 UFC fighters have been cut from the UFC. It's Jordan Wright and William Knight, and who's surprised? I'm not surprised. Everybody was talking about, especially William Knight getting cut from the UFC, so there's absolutely no surprise there. Jessica Andrade then came out and is making excuses for her loss. The reason that she got taken down is because her boob was slipping out from her bra, and there's been a bunch of replays trying to find it, and it doesn't look like that's the case, but of course, I don't want to completely discredit it because I don't know what it's like to have boobs, so maybe it felt like it was going to slip out, but then it actually wasn't. I don't know. Regardless, she hasn't been really the type to make excuses in the past, so maybe she's kind of telling the truth. I don't know. Regardless, there's no footage of it. Now, Mackenzie Dern versus Rodriguez is also a fight that got announced as very good. This could either go one way. Dern is going to get pieced up, or Dern's going to find a submission. Very, very interesting matchup. People really like Mackenzie Dern, especially. Always makes me think of Joey Diaz, man, but still, it's going to be a fun fight. Now, there was a clip circling around with Dustin Poirier versus a fan, and a fan held up a sign with Dustin. I don't know if I can show the video, so I won't. I'll leave it. It's like all over Twitter pretty much. Dustin Poirier tried to slap a fan, and Jolie was saving his life. He was holding up a sign that was disrespectful to Dustin, so that was going around a little bit, but it's already kind of under the bus, so there's not too much else to say about it. Something there is more to say, though, is Tyron Woodley on his MMA return. He wants to fight in the PFL, and he's actually open to a UFC return. This is quite surprising to me because he has been so vocal about hating the UFC, hating the fighter pay, hating Dana White, hating everybody at the UFC, you know what I mean? First of all, the UFC definitely wouldn't have him, but I wonder if this means that he's hurting for money. I don't know. He's open to the UFC return. That's very, very surprising to me. And the PFL makes total sense for Woodley because that's pretty much everything that he wants after he left the UFC, right? So I don't know. It's a little bit surprising. I don't know what to make of it. So let me know what you guys think about that one. Big fight announcement got announced after that, and that is Curtis Blades versus Sergey Pavlovich. And I apologize, I always mispronounce his name, but this is an incredible fight. Curtis Blades taking on all of the fighters. This guy could easily do the Colby Covington, sit around and just wait for a title fight because the guy has been taking on absolute killers and just be that next guy that they can throw in, especially now that Francis Ngannou's gone, but still. What a dog, man. I don't know who's going to win this fight. I want to lean towards Curtis Blades, but I can so see him getting starched here. Toughie. That's a toughie, but I'm going to be cheering for Blades, but I do like Sergey too. It's one of those fights where I don't really want to see a guy lose, but I'm a big Curtis Blades fan. I like watching that dude fight, so I'm going to have to go for him. Moving on, Dustin Poirier again wants to fight Islam Makhachev, and Islam is hinting towards not retiring, I guess, and he tweeted out he wants a new opponent. Dustin Poirier spoke up, said he wants to be the guy, but there's no way Dustin's that guy, man. There's no way, and I like Dustin. But still, no. Winner of Oliveira and Dariush, no questions. Nothing. Have him sit out. Have Makhachev sit out and don't give him anyone else. Those two deserve a title fight. I don't care. I don't want Poirier in there. Poirier needs to win another fight or two. Moving on, we got some Jake Paul news. I know a lot of you guys don't really like talking about Jake Paul, but Jake Paul is moving to MMA. He's going to have an MMA fight, and he has his one MMA wish, and that is to intercept it like he has boxing. He wants to be a big star in MMA. He wants to go in there and have everybody talking about him. And look, it's working. I'm already talking about him, right? So at least he's getting the balls, and he's stepping in the MMA cage against a fighter. We'll see how he does first. I don't see it going too well for him, but who knows? Who knows? It's the PFL, right? Moving on, Gunnar Nelson was supposed to fight Daniel Rodriguez. He pulled out, and now Gunnar Nelson is fighting Brian Barberena. Brian Barberena is one of those guys who, like Curtis Blades we were just talking about, he'll fight anybody. Interesting fight. I liked the idea for Gunnar Nelson versus Daniel Rodriguez because I'm a big fan of Gunnar, and I wanted him to win. I see this as a somewhat favorable matchup, but Brian Barberena has a history of stomping on hype trains, so I don't know. Toughy. I don't know what to think about that one. Another fight announcement. We got a few of them. Edmund Shabazian versus Anthony Hernandez. This is a very dangerous fight for Edmund, and Edmund is trying to have a career resurgence. I don't know if he's going to get past Hernandez, though. It's going to be a toughie. that one's a little bit of a 50-50 fight for me. So, guys, let me know what you think about this one. But poor Edmund, man, I hope he gets the job done. Anthony Hernandez looks like he has a bright future no matter what. But Edmund needs to keep winning. Speaking of people who need wins, Gabe Green versus Jake Matthews. Jake Matthews, man, I can't believe him in when he lost his last fight. Hopefully he comes back and takes a win over Gabe Green. Like, nothing against Gabe Green, but still, Jake Matthews, he was on such a high, and now he's on such a low. The hype train is just completely killed, man. So he needs to win this fight. I would imagine he would beat Gabe Green, but in conversation for another time. We might break that down closer too. We also have updates on the Conor McGregor lawsuit. The girl that was accusing him of being a super villain and chasing her in the water, trying to kill her, of course, has dropped all the charges out of nowhere. Out of nowhere, right? Oh, that was really crazy because I totally believed it. Next up, we have Douglas Silva de Andrade versus Cody Stamann, a really, really solid fight in the division. Cody Stamann being active again. The guy's very, very entertaining, so this should be a really good fight. Moving on, I got a really interesting one for you guys. So the early odds opened up for Dariush versus Oliveira, and guess who's the favorite? Dariush, almost a 2-1 favorite. How surprising is that? I would not have guessed that ever. Like, I understand how good Dariush is, and this is like a 50-50 fight for me. But I'm a little bit surprised that the odds are reflecting that. I thought Charles Oliveira would be a favorite. So let me know what you guys think about this. Because, again, very, very interesting. I, for one, will not be betting on this fight. Moving on, Chris Curtis is upset with Raul Rosas Jr. being on the main card ahead of him. And what can you say? Chris Curtis shouldn't have lost. I understand that he's won a lot of his fights. But still, the hype train for Chris Curtis got a little derailed. And Raul Rosas Jr. is already doing well for himself. The dude's a hype train. He's already famous. Like, he deserves a main card spot. That might be an unpopular opinion, but the guy's a bigger star than Chris Curtis, like, for sure. I don't think he really has a right to be upset, but I love Chris Curtis too. You know what I mean? Like, he's a great fighter, deserves more attention, but the fact is he's not getting nearly as much attention as Raul Rosas Jr. I'm excited to see both of them fight. Regardless, I'm going to be watching all the fights. Doesn't really matter to me. I just care, like, at least it's not a horrible fight on the main card. Still, but I understand where Chris Curtis is coming from. Now, guys, we're going to take a quick pause here because if you didn't know, all these videos I record the night before because my Fridays are typically very busy. I'm going to watch one championship with my family. So I got a head start recording this last night, and if there's any news that came out this morning, then I will re-record this and I will add it to the end of the video. And then so that makes sense. Like, just to explain why I'm going to be changed. Maybe I'll look a little bit different. It's nighttime outside right now. I don't know if it even tells in the video, but still, that explains why I look different. I will talk to you in a second. All right, I'm back, and it looks like we got quite a few pieces of news today. Mayra Bruno Silva versus Miesha Tate. Oh my God, I am going to win so much free money betting against Miesha Tate. She should not be fighting. She wasn't that great in general. And you know what? I understand she was a champion, but still, it was a completely different division back then. Miesha Tate should not be fighting and still is going to absolutely dominate her. So what can I say? Miesha Tate wants to fight. She's going to do interviews talking about like her fight IQ and the intelligence she has in the sport, and then she's going to go get smashed. That's how it works with Miesha Tate now, right? So it's going to be a good fight regardless. Next up, there was some controversy going on around USADA and Jon Jones. I haven't kept up with this completely, but it seems like what the gist of it is you can have so much of something in your system and the fighter took it unintentionally. You can get a little bit of a pass for it, kind of like what happened with Brock Lesnar. I don't know the full extent of that, but I know there's some controversy right now with USADA, and people are saying that Jon Jones has been testing positive, and like they're going to let him fight anyways, just like they did with Brock Lesnar. That wouldn't surprise me if that's the case, but please don't take what I'm saying as fact. That's just what people online are saying. I need to look more into it. Got another interesting piece of news for you here. So Sean O'Malley was offered the backup position for Henry Cejudo versus Aljamain Sterling, and he declined it for one reason. He doesn't want to make weight for a fight that is not guaranteed. I understand completely where he's coming from. If he doesn't want to make weight, he doesn't want to make weight. And if you're getting a title fight against either Aljamain Sterling or Henry Cejudo, you'd probably want a full camp on that too. I would imagine you would train, but it's not like it's one of those things where you just wouldn't train nearly as hard because you don't know if you're getting the fight for sure. We've seen guys in the backup fighters, Vicente Luque, for example, that was a little bit recent, wasn't it? Where they miss weight because like they're not totally into it because they're not expecting to get a fight, right? So I understand, but still it'd be really cool. They need a backup fighter. I don't know who else they could get. Maybe Cheeto or Sandhagen, the winner of that fight. I don't know. Moving on, last piece of news before we talk about the fights this weekend. Stipe Miocic is going to be in attendance for the big UFC 285 fight, Jones versus Cyril Gane. I imagine what they are going to do is they're going to pair up Stipe with the winner because Jones has been very outspoken in saying that he wants to take on Stipe Miocic after. Plus, there's a little bit. The problem is you have Blades versus Pavlovich. Whoever wins that fight definitely deserves the next spot for the title. But this fight's going to happen before that, so you could say, hey, Stipe, the greatest heavyweight of all time, is coming back. He's going to fight the winner. He obviously deserves a title fight, which I don't think he does. But like that's probably what they're going to do. If Cyril wins, if Jones wins, it doesn't matter. The plan is for John Jones to win, have him face off against Stipe Miocic in the octagon, set up the big fight. Then poor Curtis Blades is going to have to wait again. It's probably how it's going to go. So it's that's interesting for you. Stipe looks like he's ready to come back. He was outspoken a little bit earlier saying that he wants to fight the winner. I don't like that though. I think Stipe loses to both of them. Now moving on, we have a lot of fights coming this weekend. We're gonna start off with Bellator. There's nothing too particular to take a look at Bellator though. A lot of people, like I said earlier in the video, not everybody likes watching Bellator. It gets hated on a lot. I really like Bellator. I really like their events that they put on. I'm just a fight fan, man. I'll watch anything honestly with fights. So what the plan is, I'm gonna go on my other channel, which is a gaming channel. We're gonna stream for a little while in the morning. I'm gonna take off to my parents' house because I usually watch it with my family. And then we're going to watch some fights and then watch UFC later on in the day. So that's going to be awesome. Speaking of good fights, so One Championship is on tonight. Right after I'm done recording this video, I'm taking off to my dad's and we're going to watch the One Championship card. I am so excited for this. One FC is my favorite organization and I cannot wait to watch Lineker fight again because that fight was an absolute banger last time. And I can't, like, there's a lot of really good fighters on there. Honestly, like, their events are absolutely top tier. Danielle Kelly's another fighter that I'm actually really interested in watching. It's going to be fun. I absolutely love One Championship and their events, and I encourage you guys to watch it if you don't. It is my favorite organization. I like it so much better than the UFC. And lastly, of course, we do have the UFC. A little bit of a weak card. We have some fights that got canceled this morning, so that's a little bit sad. Johnson got canceled. I was going to throw some money on him, and I don't know who I'm going to bet on this time around. Maybe Joe Selecki. But, of course, this one's a little bit harder to predict, but there's going to be a huge card next week. There's so much to look forward to. This card's going to be a little bit weak. It's still going to be good, though. I'm interested in the main event, particularly. I don't know who's going to win that one. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a good card regardless. Big weekend of fights. I am so excited to watch it. And guys, with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. If you are new here and you enjoy the content, please consider like button will help the channel a ton. And subscribe if you are brand new. We do this everything you missed every single Friday. So if you want to be kept up to date in all of this news, again, we do it every single Friday. So stick around. Look out for the videos. Hit that notification bell. If you want to check out any of my other channels, it's in the description down below. And that's all I got for you. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.